Hello, 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 hello. So that was a very long opener. It's because I was doing a very silly homebrew quick fix to the lighting to absolve myself of some of the glare. And I am happy to report it was actually quite successful. Hold on. I can actually improve it even more, I'm seeing. Or this will end horribly. We're about to find out. You guys I don't know if it's better, but it is what it is. Yeah, that's actually not the first time that that's happened. It's because of some psychotic dynamic UI stuff. So, like, it literally, oops. It was just like this. This is what I was seeing. You can go back and watch the last stream. It was exactly like this. And I was like, oh, that's weird. There's no, like, confirmation or anything. So yeah, that was really dumb. But how are you, Veek, anyway? Hello. How are things? So I've actually upgraded some of the Terran AI here, because I was looking through it all, as I'm going to be using the same structure for the Protoss AI. And in doing so, I wound up assembling some pretty epic things. Taking care of some pretty epic things. So the defense was the biggest one. I mean, that was really the only thing I changed besides fixing a bug with the upgrade end stuff where it wasn't jumping back up. So now we have all this. I still haven't 100% verified that the upgrades work the way that they should. That's all right. Because what was happening before is that all of the upgrades were being run through and being requested like 4 times. I don't know why that is the case. Still mismatching SMH. Yeah, they're still getting the request for the upgrade all the time for some reason. It's actually stacking perpetually. So something is not working with the variables. Yeah, what's up, Line for Hire? Unfortunately, I can't power my Starcraft projects with memes, but, you know, happens. Classic misdirection. So something is either wrong with my understanding of how the variables are working, or something is wrong with the way that variables are working. So... Ah. You got the Hydra treatment. The Hydra fighting Protoss treatment, where you just get desynced. Hopefully we fix that. I still have no idea why that's a thing. Also, I forgot I might have to lower the volume of the music. I don't want to raise the volume of the microphone anymore because I did that and it led to some really overdriven sounds. So. So maybe instead, what I should do is I think I should just have this be a simpler setup and just like you run through the whole thing and it has a check at the beginning that cancels out. I think that would be better. Yeah, true. Yeah, my AI is really getting into that self-aware territory. You know. So we'll do it this way anyway, and this will be cleaner and more reasonable. So many different upgrade threads. It is pretty ridiculous that in order to tell the AI to like wait for resources and tech requirements, we have to develop an absurd system like this, except for buildings. I don't even bother doing it for the upgrades. I figure they'll just get them whenever they get them. Get rid of all the checks here. The background guitar for this song sounds like Duke Nukem 3D music. Well, I think it's that combined with the brass that we're hearing as well that's giving me that feeling. What's up, Ultralists? Working on some AI right now. Spilling water all over myself. I can't wait for my mother to see what I did with the blocking the glare. So my curtains got taken out Saturday. My curtains right in front of, like, straight ahead, behind my monitor. They got taken out, and here's what we got. You can't really see it, but I've got one hoodie and another hoodie, and they're attached to where the curtain rods would go if I had curtains, and they're tied together, and that's how I'm dealing with the glare. So pretty epic. Yeah, I don't know. Mutas doesn't. It is bizarre, but welcome you as well. And yeah, this is going to be melee AI. I've already done most of the Terran stuff. So now that I figured out a good structure, or at least what I'm thinking right now is a good structure for that AI, adopting it to the other races. Yeah, I mean, it's too hot now for most days for me to need a hoodie, so might as well make use of it. Okay, eventually we'll get some actual curtains at some point. Until then, we got this going on. It's pretty epic. We'll do Strider, and after we get to... So right now what I'm doing is I'm plugging in definitions for how the AI is going to handle upgrades. So the generic AI is like a personality that's basically going to roll in the all-purpose nature of, or like the best of both worlds of all of the other more distinct AI personalities. So the other AI personalities we have are Mech, which is like heavy Dragoon into like Reaver Arbiter. Probably like what you would see out of a PvT game in current Brood War. So they're going to be using a lot of Dragoons, a little bit of our Alliance and Zealots, especially in like the mid game, but eventually transitioning into like just a ton of Reavers and stuff. Then there's the Gateway-based personality, which is going to have like a healthy number of casters with the High Templar and the Dark Archons. They're going to use Dark Templar to crazy degrees. They're going to do all sorts of crazy shit. And obviously have like tons of Zealot Dragoon. They'll probably dip into Legionnaires. So Legionnaires are a new unit in Hydra where they are weaker than an individual Zealot, but they cost 1 supply instead of 2. And when there's 2 of them or more attacking the same target, each Legionnaire that's attacking that target deals increased damage. It's up to a cap. It's like, by default, you can only attack, you only get a bonus if there's 1 other Legionnaire attacking the same target. So if 2 Legionnaires are attacking the same target, they both get a bonus, but if a third one comes in, there is no bonus. There's an upgrade that increases it to 4, so you can have up to 4 Legionnaires all giving themselves a damage bonus to the same target. The idea being, they'll be exceptionally useful at handling Ultralisks, buildings, that sort of thing. So they're exceptionally useful at, like, you could do an expansion run-by where they annihilate like a Nexus in a very short amount of time, or at some town hall. So this AI would probably be using that a lot. Then we have the air-based personality, because why not? So this AI would probably open with Corsairs against Zerg, but otherwise would be smacking around with like a fast couple of Stargates. Like they'd probably go for a fast Expo into Double Gate. And since Scouts are less... you can build them for 2 supply instead of 3 now. That's the balance change I made to them. They're slightly more viable, and they are always. They've always been powerful units. It's just that their cost was what prevented them from being seen as viable. This AI intends to build about 30 of them and destroy you. As well as, obviously, carriers, because everybody loves carriers. So, I still have to plug in the defenses and the defined maxes, but... we'll get those lit out of the way pretty soon, and then after that I'll do like the particular upgrade threads like you see on the right side of your screen, which is the Terran AI that's been completed, and then some spellcasting orders, and then we'll get into the base building management. Hello, Europa Separatist. Welcome. Jadong AI to stop on unfortunate players. Yeah, at some point. Well, I mean, Zerg is coming up, but you're gonna see some wild ass shit from this melee AI, from melee AI in general. Right now, we're limited in what exactly we can do, but I want the AI to be able to respond to stuff that it scouts, just the same way that a player would, to like builds, you know, have a different strategy that still fits with whatever personality it's running, depending on the enemy race or the enemy's composition or something like that. Like if they're fighting against a Terran, the Protoss AI is going to go for like a couple Dragoons in the early game, right? But then from there you would see like, oh, the Terran ended up going fast Ghost, because that's something you can do in Hydra. So Dragoons are not going to be as effective. That means that I need to maybe get some Dark Archons to feedback them, or some, you know, something to answer that. Maybe just Mass Zealot and destroy them that way. You're also going to see a lot of, I think you're just going to, in general, see like micro-focused strategies coming up from the AI, where they try to kite a little bit, and they try to use like Disruption Web and stuff. So there'll be some interesting things that I've got planned, but right now we are gated in what we can do, and we'll try to work within those limitations to make something that's still pretty exciting to play against. Bottom line is we'll actually have multiplayer melee support for Hydra once I'm done with all of these AIs, even if I continue to update them as time goes on, which I undoubtedly will. So the goal is just to get something working in that sense, and then we can look to go from there. The other thing is that the same system that I'm using for the melee AI, I'm going to use the same like script structure that gives the AI instructions in the same way that the melee AI does for the the campaign mission AI, where like they expand in similar fashions, they respond to certain events like the enemy race or the enemy strategy, or how aggressive the enemy has been, how successful their aggression has been, that sort of thing. They'll respond to similar stimulus. Here's hoping. Yes, exactly. That is exactly my idea. So we'll do that. Oh yeah, I guess I should test the latest build of the Terran AI. Just to see if they actually work properly. I guess this is that must be one of the general AIs. Hey, nice stacking. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like they are still getting cloned requests for the upgrades. I'll have to talk about it for a little bit. Hello, Patrick. How are you? Oh wait, this should all be 0 actually. Well, the mech AI will be using Reavers quite a bit. We already have worked sometimes buggy Reaver micro AI for the AI, actually. iQuare has been working on that, or was working on that a while ago. And so they have Reaver AI works such that, like, the AI tries to position the Reaver in front of the shuttle if the threat is, like, a unit that can attack air. And otherwise, the shuttle tries to, like, basically pull back a little bit and then return to load the Reaver as the Reaver acquires a target, so that by the time the Reaver launches the Scarab, they should immediately be in the shuttle. So there's, like, a lot of micro precision associated with that. Yeah, exactly. Ultralisks remembers. Even as far back as, like, the old Hydra stuff from 2018, there was this one part where I think in one of his videos, or maybe it was just a screenshot, but there was, like, 6 Reavers getting dropped on his mineral line at some point. Like, it goes from, it's, like, comical. It goes from, like, the first time you get Reaver dropped, it's like, oh, it's just 2 Reavers. I mean, just 2 Reavers. It's still pretty scary, but I can take care of that. And then at some point, it's just suddenly my entire base is overrun with Reavers. It went from, like, a harassment my entire base is overrun with Reavers. It went from, like, a harassment opportunity to them just full-blown assaulting you with Reavers. And so if you don't cover your hiney... Sometimes. My chair is protesting its continued existence. I think we're good there. Please. All right, and then down here we'll do like Stargate. It's okay, we're trying to figure out how these variables are working. It seems like only iQuare really knows. Grid. I guess we can do something like Strider gets... Oh, I guess there should be a Strider too, but I can have that in the actual thread. So we can do like... And then we can do stuff like XC upgrade. We're basically just gonna have a bunch of different conditions for the AI to actually request certain upgrades. Most of them are going to be handled by this looping block that runs every 240 frames, which is what you see here with all these at least multis. That's basically checking to see if the AI has the requisite number of structures. In this particular case, it's like once they have 3 of a certain kind of production structure or more than that, they will run the upgrade thread for that particular unit that production structure provides. That's sort of a general rule. It's not a hard and fast rule because you might be in a position where you're stuck on like one... Like I've seen plenty of games of Brood War Melee where a Terran player is like... He's got one machine shop and all of his other factories don't have any, but he still has like 10 tanks. So obviously you would want siege mode at that point. So it doesn't always work for every case, but we can start with this and then we can smooth out any issues that we find along the way. Let's say... I think this is just a regular one. So, I guess I'll actually fill out the list of upgrade threads so I know roughly what we're actually going to be calling in these loops that are for each personality. To do this. Pretty much the exact same thing here, except we're replacing it with the armor. Nice basic series of instructions here. Shields will be next. Okay, and then we can do upgrade forge, structure armor. Another thing that I've completely reshaped with Hydra is the actual limit of upgrades that you can have. So you can have up to 10 now. Might be a failed experiment, like it might just end up being too untenable, but the upgrade costs are pretty intense. The time cost especially. It takes so long for a tier 4 upgrade to finish that while it has happened in our playtests, it's not until like, 30 minutes or something usually. Which doesn't sound like a long time when you just say, oh yeah, 30 minutes in, but you imagine how long it takes for that? Like, I don't actually even know how long that would take, but I'm pretty sure if you calculated it out, it would be like several minutes to complete the upgrade, which means if you see, hey, this guy's got tier 4 Zerg Carapace, or tier 3 Zerg Carapace, and his evolution chamber is working, you know that that's a priority target because that could be tier 4 coming up. So I would also like so that if you end up having like a scanner sweep or any sort of detection on enemy units, you should be able to click on their structure and actually see what they're doing. Like, I feel like that should add that adds like a layer of depth too. We don't have that yet, but the idea of like it does disproportionately favor scanner sweep in some cases because you can use it without as much cost. Although scanner sweep has been nerfed, like Comsat is more expensive and scanner sweep itself costs more energy. So you're spending more of a cost there. But when you detect something, I feel like it should give you more information than just the fact that it exists or like vision of something that's cloaked. So like now it allows you to see what we already have implemented actually is if you detect an enemy that is a spellcaster like a High Templar or a Defiler, you can actually see their energy if you have detection on them. Eventually you'll be able to see what upgrades they have. There'll be like some stuff when you select the unit, it'll show like upgrade icons on the command card and stuff like that. That to me is just like another way for people who are paying attention and who are zeroed in. Like that's a resource that they can use. Just that will reward attention being paid and attentive players in general. So. Pretty cool. Oh, I see what I did here. Oh, I'm gonna have to reword that because power is no longer a mechanic, but whatever. That's going to have to require like a arbiter tribunal. Yeah, I guess that too. So many new upgrades makes this more complex than you might immediately look at and say, oh yeah, that's how it works. Starcraft doesn't really have lore. It has a setting that was established to be, I would say, have more potential than you might initially expect from a video game. Like, video game settings are usually underexplored, and Starcraft is no different. The execution that Blizzard had was very, very pitiful and worthy of scorn. Especially Starcraft 2 was significantly worse, but being better or worse just by virtue of comparing it to something better or worse is not really what I'm after. Like, I want whatever I work on to stand out as justifying itself based on its own merits, not, oh, at least it's better than that other thing. Like, that seems like such a woefully inept way to add worth to something. So my concern as a developer is that I want people to be able to say that they had a good experience, regardless of what their past experiences with other things are. I want people to come in and, like, in theory, if they were willing to improve as a player, but had never played a video game before, and so they didn't have all of the preconceived notions that most people have when they sit down to play a video game, they should also be able to take something from it and enjoy it. Just like, I would hope that people who are more grizzled veterans of the video game sphere would also be able to. So, in essence, I don't really care about the lore, but the one thing that you can say, the thing is, StarCraft 1, it started as a fan fiction of Warhammer 40,000, and like the reason why Blizzard made the game to begin with is that originally they wanted to make a Warhammer 40,000 game, but they were denied the license, so they made StarCraft instead. Who knows what would have happened differently if they weren't denied the license. But because of that, Protoss are basically Eldar, and Zerg are basically Tyranids, and then the Terrans are a mishmash of Imperial Guard and Space Marines. And you don't really have that much else. Like, there's not really much that doesn't stem from that fan fiction element. And because of that, I think that helped Blizzard sort of not really define the setting that much, which is why it has potential at all, because we've seen what a poor job they did with everything else. But so it was a good thing that they didn't design it that way, basically. Like, that's why it has any potential to be mined from other people. I actually don't even know if that's the name of the shield battery in it. Oh, it's called Bulwark Mana. So yeah, there you go. That's my hot take. Problem is, it's not very hot anymore. Most of the people in my community are already aware of this and share the same kind of opinion. Even if they have like a personal deference for it and they're like, oh, it's kind of cool still, I kind of like it, whatever. They understand why on a functional level it's not a proper story. But StarCraft 2 is basically a different game anyway. Like, as opposed to being a Warhammer 40k cargo cult fanfiction thing that StarCraft 1 lore was, StarCraft 2 lore, I say I should have lore wrapped in quotes every time I say it with regards to this, but StarCraft 2 lore is like a love story is the plot, but the lore surrounding that is just like, let's see how much we can copy paste from everything else that's happened in the last 10 years in terms of science fiction video games. Like, you copy paste Mass Effect, the Xel'Naga are one-to-one copy pastes of something from Mass Effect 3. I don't know what they're called, but they're a similar, like, generic old god shit, which is in and of itself a copy paste from like Cthulhu mythos stuff. And the thing is, like, when you copy paste stuff like that, which Blizzard is known for, and it's basically their sole claim to fame when it comes to, it's claim to infamy when it comes to storytelling and stuff, is that they just blindly copy paste stuff either from their own products or for somebody else's product. That's why, like, Arthas is the same thing as Kerrigan, and why they copy paste the same plot for like all of their the same character arc for all of their characters in World of Warcraft. It's like one-to-one ports of the same shit, same story being told over and over again. I mean, they basically memed on it after a time. They were like, "Oh yeah, death is a setback, lol." It's like, okay, whatever you say. So yeah, it's just very unfortunate. Oh, you know what I missed? At some point we are going to, because of the fact that you can get up to 10 upgrades for all of these repeatable upgrades. I don't see much of a way around that. We're going to have to develop some system that's similar to add build where you can just increase the request quantity. For now, we'll just do up to 3, though. I like that one. Holy shit. Using Unity should get you raided by the KGB and beaten to death. Love that. What is... Oh, wow. What a... Alright. So we have... I'm still tracking down all these different things. Alright, we just did weapon and armor there. Oh yeah, I forgot there's expanded hull upgrade that I added. Nice. Oh right, there's also warp relay stuff. I forgot about that. Forgot relocators were actually added inside the array. That. I just realized the mech AI can actually use those too as well. What do you mean by debug messages? Like I said earlier, Iquare, it can't be executed. The AI could not receive upgrades if the utility check and infantry armor check and all that stuff were not run. They would have to be run, because that's how you get to the point where they're upgrading their stuff and they're actually requesting upgrades. Like, you don't get to upgrade infantry armor or upgrade engineering bay infantry armor without going to the check first, because that's what gets multi-ran by all of these threads. So it would literally be functionally impossible for the AI to jump to this. I responded to you like a few minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. I explained what Crash Battle was and why it would be impossible for the check to go anywhere. You'd say story lore is about execution and innovation over originality. Oh yeah, for sure. The problem is that nobody else believes that. Or if they do, they don't personify that in their work. Like, everybody is either trying to be... Well, I wouldn't say innovation, because innovation is basically like a new idea or something. You don't need to be innovative to be successful, or to, and I don't mean successful financially. I mean like to produce an objectively good project or product. You don't need innovation. You just need to execute really well on whatever ideas you're using as the basis. Like, you need to have a consistent vision, and you need to execute on that vision well. And so execution is for sure way better, way more important. I wouldn't say innovation plays into that at all. If you can, the ways that you innovate are probably going to be in your pipeline more than your actual product. Like, you're probably going to innovate a quicker or more efficient way to produce content. Then you're more likely to do that than you're going to innovate like with the actual project itself. Of course, this all depends on your definitions, but that would be my take on that. I think that a lot of, like, that's what I meant by the setting being somewhat promising, is that the stuff that they didn't spend a whole lot of time trying to explain or spending a lot of time narratively, like, focusing on in the story, is the stuff that feels the most interesting. I don't necessarily say that it's good, because in order to be good, you have to be executed upon to some level, and they expressly did not execute on it. It's like Starcraft 2 basically went for the telling over showing approach, where it like went way into the weeds about a lot of stupid shit. Like, it tried to... It both did and did not explain anything, like the Terrazine and all of these like void things, and so it had a lot of really stupid cliches, and it tried to explain some of them, but it half-assed every explanation, and so it just ended up having like players end up being confused as to what the hell was going on and why we were focusing on that. It's amateur hour all over the project there. Whereas in StarCraft 1's lore, it was almost like amateur hour for a different reason, where they didn't care that much about the story. Brood War was a little bit different. Brood War is like StarCraft 2 Light, where they focused way too much on like small scale stuff, and then that made them want to try to explain shit. Whereas really, we don't need to know the science behind anything in order for it to have impact. We need to know what it means to the characters, and we can get that through dialogue and through their voice acting and through their script writing and through how they react. And we can also get that through gameplay, which we never got because there was no storytelling through gameplay in almost any of these maps from either StarCraft 1 or StarCraft 2. And that's like where it all falls apart. So you're not going to get a lot of the storytelling like the way that you should be doing it, where you're like fighting an AI and that AI is personifying a character in the story. And that character has a certain set of strategies or personalities. You don't feel that ever. You just feel like you're basically alone on the map. And then occasionally what might as well end up being a triggered wave from a pre-placed brigade gets thrown at you. Because the AI never expands, the AI barely ever upgrades, the AI barely sends units at you half the time. And like the one threatening attack that I remember from the entire campaign is in the to slay the beast mission, and it's because of a bug in the AI that makes it say, "Hey, I'm going to overbuild guardians." Or I'm going to overbuild mutalisks that then get morphed into guardians. It's because the AI can't see what units it already has in eggs or cocoons in the vanilla game. We've already fixed that bug. But because of that bug, it actually makes the AI harder. That's the one threatening attack, because they come at you with like 6 guardians or something. Which does not really not that many guardians. But the fact that there's 6 of them at an earlier enough time in the game that you might not have any sufficient defense against that, that's the one threatening part of the entire mission. And it's like, okay, it's due to a fucking bug. Like, Blizzard didn't even intend that. Yeah, I should be seeing these messages all over the place, is what I should be seeing. Ooh, that's... Well, part of it is probably... It might have something to do with the fact that the variables are global, I'm realizing. And I have multiple AI running, so let me disable... Really? Thanks. Done. Let me just set... Yeah, I'm seeing them all over the place because they're not jumping back. Which is why they're getting so many requests. So it just refuses to jump back. But I also don't know what the mismatch is from, so that might have something to do with this. Whatever the mismatch is. I'm setting all of these to 0. I don't know why that would not have some consistency there, but... Oh yeah, I've got to figure out what the... I think it's Warp Relay Mana or something. And I think there was Recursion, but that's a spell? Yeah, it's an ability. Like, do you see something wrong with the way that I was setting up the variables exactly? Or what? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure it's not seemingly something that I'm doing wrong. Because it for me, like, my initial instinct is I've done something incorrectly, like setting up the variables or whatever. But mismatch is just, it doesn't tell me what variables specifically, so I don't even know where I would go to start doing that. But I guess it's It's got to be something related to... I would think it's something related to this, the exactly jump, upgrade, end, stop. But I set that to 0 up here, so it's not like I don't initialize it. Temporal batteries is 25% shield regeneration to structures that are powered by multiple pylons. Power flux used to be that. Now power flux is what we're calling the upgrade efficiency. Archives, I guess. Epic. I just had to fix the wording behind those, and now I can pop open. I forgot I have to It's doing the same thing by the looks of things. Yeah, mismatch is still old. Don't ask me why. Yeah. See? I'll actually be right back because I drank too much water and now I have to use the bathroom. Hi. Yeah, that's all the old Hydra stuff. I don't think there's any recent videos from anybody about the latest Hydra stuff. Oh, that Hydra, the old Hydra from 2018 or 2019 or whatever you're looking at, is still. I think it was still functional for remastered when Jay Bruno streamed it, and when everybody else has played it, it's been with like older AI systems or whatever. So yeah. Far from indicative or representative of the current version, that's for sure. Fleet Beacon. Let's say we'll do speed. Oh, you know what? I did miss one. There's exemplar as well. Is that the only upgrade I have for exemplars? Oh, there's Gravity Continuator. I don't even remember if I changed the... No, I didn't. Okay. I was thinking about some upgrades for Dark Templar as well, but I can't really come up with anything off the top of my head. They are already pretty strong right now. I don't think it would necessarily be that big of a deal if they stayed the way that they are, or if their upgrade ended up being a super late game thing. I'm not sure how I keep doing that every now and then. Very strange. I don't remember what I was just doing. The other thing to consider, though, is there should probably be two different threads for upgrading Templar. Oh, and since I just realized I didn't respond to the last half of your message, but you were talking about creating new dialogue or whatever. Story is not the focus of Hydra, or even like really a concern. I'm changing a lot about the story to include more varied gameplay. For example, Tassadar shows up in the final two missions of... Tassadar's forces were always present in the 9th mission, New Gettysburg. The final two missions of Hydra Terran will have him, so he's also going to be there in the Hammer Falls. And I might also have like a remake of one of the missions that were cut, just for the sake of being able to include Protoss more, because otherwise they're only in 2 missions. Even 3 out of 10 is pretty shit. But yeah, I'm basically like reworking a lot about that, just so that I have more freedom for designing enticing, whatever it is, enticing missions. So, we'll say Templar Mana. Okay. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be some extra dialogue. I'm adding a bunch of original characters just for the sake of having more like stability across the different personalities. So for example, when you face an enemy that is the same color as an enemy you faced in the previous mission, you should know that that's led by the same character and thus has the same personality and thus will behave similarly to what you've already experienced. So there may be some adaptations, but they'll still be within the same personality. So for example, there's a Scarlet Terran AI in Hydra And they're led by somebody who really likes to use wraiths and really likes to harass you with drop ships, like just death drop your mineral line and stuff. Like, that's their playstyle. And they are not necessarily super well dug into their expansions that they take, but they do take more expansions than the average Terran player. So the idea is that even if you kill like one or two of them, they probably have at least one other one that was successfully set up somewhere else, and that sort of thing. So you'll see interesting behavior like that. And if you face off against that color in the next map, you should be like, or some other point, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember the last time I faced this guy, he destroyed me with wraiths, so I'm going to make sure to watch the skies this time because he might have the same thing. You know what I mean? So it'll be part of like scouting as well. Scouting will actually be something you can do in campaign missions. Pretty much unheard of. Dark on. So we are looking at. Oh, we're actually just looking at this. I did this. I did what you told me to do. That's what you missed. Nothing different. The old mismatch was still there. Unless maybe it's because... what I'll do is I'll re-download it just to make sure. It might have been rewritten to the old file because I still had Visual Studio Code open. Usually the opposite happens, though. So I don't know why that would be the case. Oh, it's being sent to this instead of the release now. That's why. I think. I can't tell. Do what? Is this like a new thing from an update to Rust or something? Oh no, it is there. Okay. Good to know. I don't know what was happening there. Let's try that. Maybe I did screw it up. I might have gone into the wrong folder. Upgrade and jump L32. That's the mismatch. So line 32. Well, there is no... That's definitely not line 32, but maybe it's... Maybe it's this? So maybe I should do this. I don't think that has anything to do with it, though. No, it seems to be working. I can't tell. No, infantry armor is still requested multiple times. Well, didn't you say set... Well, I let you know at some point that set was broken. Anyway, the utility check thing is not what you should be checking at any capacity, because that's very rarely actually called. Or multi-run. Yeah, I already fixed the mismatch, but that's not what we're after here. I already fixed that part. That has nothing to do with the jumping of the thread, though, unfortunately. I was hoping that that would have something to do with that. That's a skip. What was I about to do? I don't remember. Modstream, stasis, recall. There's something related to... Oh. Those are all the spells that are researched by default. The rest of them get quested later. You really are desperate for content. What's up? Dark medicine. No, this map is just really like a testing ground for AI anyway, right now. I'm working on the Protoss melee AI. Terran melee AI is almost functional. Almost. But I haven't even done any performance tests with it. I'm just trying to make sure that the variable system is working. That's where we're at for now. I think all of the upgrade stuff is done for the Protoss now. Beyond, obviously, like, setting up the rest. Yeah, melee AI. I've been making melee maps recently too, but we haven't tested much about those. Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, I mean, I can just show you sort of the rough cut of what we're looking at right now. Yeah, I mean, the end result is basically like, I'm going to use the same structure or skeleton or whatever you want to call what I've got here. The same thing that I've got here for this AI, which is almost 2,000 lines. Much of it due to the fact that I have to account for 4 different personalities. I've tried to make it as modular as possible so I could plug in whatever I want. The actual final cut of an AI for, say, a single Hydra map would probably end up being roughly the same, but not because it uses all of the same things. It's because like I would cut down on the excess number of personalities because obviously I'm only coding for one personality, but I'd be adding in stuff like base layouts and maybe some scripted stuff or like scripted map specific stuff basically. So that could be base layouts, that could be maybe the AI likes to bunker rush, and so giving them coordinates and instructions and certain other things, scouting, that sort of stuff. The AI always accounts for island maps. There's a default behavior that handles like, oh, if I can't go there, then, you know, if I can't do something, then obviously I'm just going to have to get dropships or whatever. There's nothing that tells it to build that. I could easily do that, but yeah, that's basically what you would have to do, is you'd have to do ground map jump. We would probably get a better system in place for that, which would be more like, can I scout my enemy? As well as like, can I reach my enemy or something? That way it's not purely limited to terrain, but it can also be doing stuff like checking whether or not I can see a path through units, which would be for like melee maps that use the stasis chambers or whatever. Things to block pathing. And ideally we would also be able to take that and add it to the attack preparation code. A lot of opportunities open up for fixing stupid shit related to the AI when you are looking at the raw functions of the game translated into another language. You can start to add checks for different things or whatever. But I haven't played UED since it was... I think I did play some of the stuff when it was in remastered still, but that was since 2018, I think. 2017, 2018. That was the last time I played it, so I can't really say. The author is somebody who was a pretty close friend of mine up until he blew up and detonated, as all infested Terrans are eventually destined to do. But as far as I understand, it still uses a lot of pre-placed stuff. Which is basically like an unforgivable sin at this point. When it comes to, like, you can't take a project seriously if it uses pre-placed stuff. That aside, I'm pretty sure he also has like not infinite money for his AI, but AI with a significant starting bank. It's like pre-placing resources in your AI's bank. You can't get away with that either. Basically, any advantage that the AI has, beyond like a terrain advantage or whatever, like, oh, you know, they started in this area and this area has these innate terrain characteristics. Any inalienable advantage the player has is bad, and that can come from a trigger that will always happen, or it can come from them having certain assets by the first frame of the game because they were pre-placed. And so it's both unfair and like, well, there's many different things that it is. It wastes the player's time because they're not fighting against a real opponent. They're dealing with somebody who had all of the extra advantages given to them. That sort of thing. So, assuming it still all has those characteristics, that doesn't seem like it would be a particularly worthwhile gameplay experience. That being said, it's certainly got more impressive things going for it on a, like, just in terms of characteristics of a project. The fact that it has some custom voice acting, some custom tech tree changes, and notably custom AI are all good things. It's just that they're not utilized to actually make the project a high quality project. They're just, you know, happen to be components of that particular project. The one thing that I can say about it is that just by virtue of having those things, it's setting, you know, a standard of some sort that other projects should also have custom voice acting and custom tech tree changes and custom AI. So at least it's got that going for it. Which is pretty much the only thing you can say about a lot of custom campaigns, by the way. Like, Antioch Chronicles is not a fun gameplay experience, but at least it had custom voice acting. So, you know, Legacy of the Confederation had a custom cutscene. Like, even though these projects are all terrible, if, you know, by setting a certain standard, they, in terms of, like, this is what we expect out of a project, we expect a project to have voice acting and maybe not cinematics, because that was mostly one guy doing all that, but, you know, custom graphics of some sort. We expect projects to have these things. When you set that standard, even if your quality is not really up to par with what you would want to be for a quality standard, when you set a component standard, that's something that I think communities should be doing. That's a form of positive gatekeeping, where you're not allowing, you know, projects that are less potent or less... Basically, a project can't be good if it's only made with, like, default star edit and, you know, no custom AI, no custom anything. Like, you need to mod, and you need to write AI, and you need to do voice acting and all this other stuff. Like, that's an essential part of all of this. All of those components are essential pieces. And so the more that you push the scene in that direction where everybody's using all that stuff, the better the scene will, like, the better products that will come out of that scene. That's my opinion anyway. That's why I keep doing what I'm doing. So hopefully it works out for him in that sense. Alright, let's try some changes from iQuare. See if we can get those things working. I don't understand why Rust gives you a warning when you have a different, like, just different capitalization. Like, what a waste of computational power that is. Warning me about labels. Why is it only using one of the most useless and most, like, bare bones? Oh, there we go. It's set to 1. Oh, cool. I got a crash. I think that's from the AI, the needs ballooning, which is what we're trying to avoid here. Hey, at least once the stacking is fixed, which iQuare is working on, we'll be able to move the unit mover out of experimental. Apparently it crashed on get empty build queue slot. I don't know if this is even a crash. It's just highlighted in black, so I didn't even, but we don't even have a hook on that, so I don't know why that would be the case. What was the, I'll verify this just by looking at the error file that I've already got. Yeah, wow, it actually did crash on me. I forget what the fuck even was. That caused this. Well, LBRB again. You, actually. Got myself a little snack. Savika. It's going. We are trying to figure out why the variable system is not working the way that it should be working. Meanwhile, I'm also setting up my Protoss melee AI structure. See how far we get with this today. I was hoping to be able to like verify that the Terran stuff was completely functional. Or at least the upgrade variable system that I designed was functional. But alas, no such luck. Maybe by the end of the stream though. Like we're still working on it. Destroyed. How's it going with you, actually? Wow. I was not expecting that. I forgot that that show even existed. Holy shit, why? Why does Visual Studio suck so badly? Jesus Christ. There we go. I don't actually know what the structure is like that. Let's go to... I guess it would be in enumerations or something. So it's not in this. It'll be in some other header file. So it would be in C unit. What is this a pointer to? Graphics color. I don't know. I want to see where the color ID is listed. Maybe it's in graphics. Oh. I haven't even seen the show. I just forgot it existed because, like, for a while everybody was making fun of it. Well, I think they were making fun of it for the sake of making fun of the fans. You'll note that fandoms tend to be the worst of the worst in that respect. We can actually file this now that we've fixed that bug. My most needed PyMS feature is probably, yeah, I would say copy, paste, and flip functions to PyTile would be great. Multi-select megatiles, which would hopefully fix the... Like, I think what we should do is, even though this is kind of weird behavior... Okay, so when we're in the middle of editing stuff in PyTile, right? Here, I'll file it up so I can sort of talk about this while I'm working. So like if I want to select multiple groups, then I should just be able to like select any tile in any group and then hold shift and select any tile in any other group. Now if I hold control, I should be able to select multiple like multiple groups, but specific groups. So instead of selecting everything in between A and B, I'm selecting A and B only, which is pretty obvious, right? But then for selecting multiple megatiles, I think it should be like Control Shift to select from one megatile to and everything in between, and then like Control Alt click. Oh wait, that null tiles them. Well, I guess it could just be Control Shift to select megatile A and B, while also like maybe if you make it so that you can drag, like Control Shift click and then drag, and that might work. I don't know. I forgot that nulled them. But yeah, Megatile multi-select would be great too. I'm hoping that if we can Megatile multi-select, it will solve the problem where you have to click to another Megatile to keep painting flags. I don't know if it will, but I don't even know if it's possible to select multiple Megatiles. Oh, well, if you've already got an idea for that, then never mind. I guess that'll work. But yeah, obviously selecting multiple Megatiles would be great because we need to be able to copy and paste the pie tile. Copy, paste, and flip would be awesome. Multiple Megatile and multiple group select would be awesome. And then obviously painting across multiple tiles, awesome. You get all those done. I mean, again, like, still the highest priority feature is marking unused Megatiles as some stuff that you can overwrite when importing new graphics. If we don't have that, then, like I said earlier in our DMs, you have to basically rebuild your tile set, especially for stuff like releasing content. Whereas if you can overwrite unused tiles, you can just import like a bunch of blank, like null tiles, or, well, I guess you can't really do that. But maybe you could like set them all to being null so they're not taking up like file size or whatever. But regardless, like there's you just have to rebuild it every now and then, which is pretty unfortunate. So here's hoping that we don't have to do that in the near future. I mean, but that would be the only feature left if you add in like multi-select for groups and megatiles. You add those flip, copy, and paste functions, and you get the multi-tile painting going. Like, you get all that stuff done. There's literally only that left, I think, besides like maybe some niche bugs or whatever. Like, I think you said if you open up a tile set over and over again, it'll start. Like, if you open up multiple tile sets over and over again or something without closing the program and reopening it, does some weird corruption. Like, fixing that would be nice. And then maybe we'll need to also allow support for extended stuff at some point, but ideally it won't be a necessity. You've already transformed this program into something we can use way easier with way less, like... It's like you're removing built-in resistance to the action of using a tool, which there shouldn't be resistance to using a tool anyway, but, like, something as what's the term? Something as paramount as tileset editing, as fundamental as tileset editing, should not have that much resistance associated with it. You've already transformed it in that respect, so anything you do on top of this now is, you know, even better. That address is way too high to be an actual function, so I'm gonna have to figure out what part of what plugin crashes now. The fuck? Oh, all ladybug. I feel bad for y'all, Cholos, because if you have to use like a modern Visual Studio program for school, of all things, holy moly. Why would this function be this big? So I've done the Citadel stuff, the Cybernetic stuff, and the Forge stuff, Templar stuff, Observer Arbiter. For Robo, we have Reaver, Shuttle, Clarion, and Relay. For Stargate, we have Scout, Corsair, Carrier. Don't have Starcaller. Let's see. And then what are we missing? Exemplar. Okay, yeah, we've taken care of everything there. Wonder what I'm gonna have for lunch. Sure, I'll come up with some good idea for that. Man, that was a real confusing, really threw me for a loop here when it was telling me that this was all in the buttons conj function. That's pretty good. Oh boy. What? Oh. Well, I just copied your stuff right here. So. I have unit ID. Unit ID 32, comma. Then unit equals match unit from pointer unit, but this doesn't. Oh, maybe it's unit ID? I don't think so, though. Or does this have to be... Maybe the line here has to be let unit ID from pointer unit ID, but that's not a pointer, so I don't know. I'm out of ideas already. still cloning stuff. Wait, what? Oh, parent. Alright. I gotta BRB again because I have to use the bathroom again. Because I keep doing this. Ding. Bong. Hey, they eventually landed at barracks again. That's good. You build those production structures, Larry. Yes, yes. Let the macro flow through you. All right. Well, that's it. Bing bong. You motherfucker. Try that one on for size. I always forget. Oh no, it is supposed to be AG. Okay. Looks like we'll be able to finish the upgrade requests and the defense stuff today, which is nice. And then from there I can move on tomorrow or later on today to getting the town stuff taken care of. Setting up the build requests for photon cannons and production structures and tech. The tech threads for each personality. And then it'll be expansions and attacks. Should be fairly easy going in that respect. I guess expansions will probably come before towns. But yeah. Those are like the 3 last bits that I need to do. I don't remember if exemplars can even attack that. Okay. know that these 3 are good to go. Okay. I think that's everything here. And then from here, this is fine for these guys because these guys are going to be Stargate focused. But we should grab this. So we got that. These 2 should be moved below here. First glance, this looks okay. Double checking. We have all this, we have all that. We have all the various fleet ones. Scout, Carrier, Corsair. I think that's all fine. Yeah, I mean, they're fairly straightforward. Oh. Well, I have been asking for updates on the volume. I think it's louder because I raised it for a different album that was playing. Should be better now. Then I changed tracks and I didn't even think about that. Thanks for the heads up. What was I going to say? For... We're just setting up the expansion stuff now because I forgot how simple it was compared to what I thought it was. But yeah, the personalities are pretty straightforward, actually. They are all about... like, basically being functional while still having distinctions, like, enough between them that the playstyle that you need to counter them yourself requires some adaptation. So basically, the Terran is an easier one for me to talk about because I haven't finished the Protest one. Terrans have 4 personalities that they can get. One of them is like a general all-purpose one. The other one is a mech-focused one that goes for an early barracks, but only just so that they can get enough like small numbers of Marines or whatever to stabilize, and then they immediately go for armory into factory. They also all of the Terran personalities expand fairly quickly, except for the bio-focused one, which is another one of the personalities, and then there's an air-focused one. The bio one goes for like an early 2-3 racks and just tries to kill you with their first attack of like 8 Marines and around like the 5-minute mark or something. Obviously, they could go for higher. I'll probably, again, like as we get more functionality and all that stuff, we'll probably have better setups for that. But the idea is that that's like a very aggressive AI. They have their first attack go faster than the other AIs, and they expand behind that first attack instead of expanding before the first attack, which is what all the other personalities do. And there's going to be some modifications I make to the air personality, but the air personality goes armory, starport, barracks, second starport, in that order. They actually start their, I think maybe they start their barracks before they start their first starport, but they go for an early 2-starport, 1 control tower, cloak, wraith rush, and it's pretty lethal if you're not prepared. It's actually modeled after a build order that I developed myself when I was messing around with this stuff. You can get like 2 wraiths out of at around something like, I want to say like 5-6 minutes. You can get 2-3 wraiths and be most of the way done with +1 ship weapon with the new changes, because you only need an armory for a starport, so you don't need factory. So it ends up being pretty destructive, as you might imagine. We have a similar kind of personality set up for the Protoss. They've got mech, which is like Dragoon, Reaver spam into air backup, like carrier, scout, stuff like that. And they make they don't make as much use of air units specifically as the air specific personality does, but it's like a nice mix basically. And they tend to neglect non-Strider gateway units, so they'll use Dragoons and Hierophants, but not much Zealots, not many of the spellcasters or anything else. If anything, like, you might see them spending excess gas on High Templar just to make Archons, but even then, like, odds are they're not going to bother with that too much. And then the gateway / bio personality still uses a lot of Dragoons and Hierophants, but they mostly are like spamming Zealots and Legionnaires and having like a lot of spellcasters, Dark Templar raids on your expansions, Legionnaire run-bys on your expansions, stuff like that. So there's all sorts of different things that are going to be there. So. And you'll have to scout out to see what personality is what. I have it being debug printed right now, just for the sake of it, but I could even remove that now and still probably tell you what personality it is, just by looking at their opening few minutes. Also, if anybody ends up having suggestions or that sort of thing, anyway, yeah, like I was trying to say, if anybody has suggestions for a personality or stuff that I could incorporate into a personality, obviously feel free to let me know. I have already got some ideas, and I'll develop the ideas as time goes on. Oh, of course. That'll probably more so be... I don't think that that would necessarily end up working for a melee context. Maybe if it was a team game, I could see that happening, but in PvP, I imagine the AI would just do something really stupid. I guess the other problem with cannon rushing, too, is that you need to rely on base layouts until we get a better algorithm. Like, there's no function that we can use to determine the enemy's position, and then after that say, okay, now I'm going to specifically create a town in that area. You would need to make that map specific. But the same thing is true for bunker containing or like sunken proxying with basilisks or something insane. Alright, so I'm basically going to copy this for robotics support bay, fleet beacon, Templar archives, observatory arbiter tribunal, and then back up here. Oh wait. Oh shit. Flag painter boxes now have correct size. Oh, that's cool. So it looks like just a nice set of polish. One pixel gap is pretty useful. That's why I figured maybe if you allow it to work for, like, maybe if you allow multiple megatile selections, it might work. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of that would help in this case. We're doing Robo Bay. Support Bay. Oh, so even if you were to add the megatile multi-select feature, you don't think it would work in that environment either? Obs. And then we have Arb. Good there. Oh shit. I just realized I have Oh, it's an at least call. Destroyed. Well, this is a pretty good amount of progress. At this point, we definitely should be able to get a fair bit of work done on the Protoss AI to the point where we should be able to enter into testing tomorrow. I might even get more work done on it later today when I'm not, obviously when I'm not streaming. So thanks again, Veek, for your lovely updates. If you don't mind DMing me the files so I don't have to suffer through Mega, that'd be great. At some point, we do have to have a research as to... at some point, we have to have a whole research session on a new host for all of our files. One of the benefits of localizing all of the links on the Wikidot is that I really don't need to worry about updating the links. It will be annoying to do, but I can do it. But we do need to find a different host because Mega is significantly slower than it ought to be, and it's also region blocked. So it would be ideal to find something that didn't require people to use a VPN or something, but if there really is nothing else that's better, then maybe we'll just have to stick to it. So if anybody has any ideas, let me know. I think iQuare suggested GitHub for at least like the tools and stuff. I don't really think that we need to bother with anything related to Microsoft, but I also don't remember if GitLab was any good, or GitFox or something. I think GitLab is the one with the Fox icon, and that's why I was thinking of GitFox. I don't think GitFox is a real thing, but something related to some sort of file hosting would be nice. I don't think a Git website or a Git service would cover it anyway, because we need some pretty hefty file sizes. I think my Mega account right now that holds like the campaign listing and all the tools and all the projects is bordering on 50 gigs. So yeah, anyway, just some thoughts. We'll have to figure that out later. Thanks again, Veek, for updating that. Thanks to iQuare for helping me out and hanging and helping me figure out what the hell I was supposed to be doing with Rust today. Yeah, I guess that's it for now. We'll be back with more of this, what you see on screen, tomorrow. Bye.